Ray? Kevin, yeah.
It's thinking like he's so young.
You gonna go?
I'd like to,
Camera's live.
My 3-year-old's figured out how to download games on their
You
phone.
know what, Joe?
Oh man, before you know it, you're gonna have an app or a bill that's, once they find how to spend money.
He doesn't have that capability yet.
Would everyone please rise for a moment of silence? You join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait, have the roll.
It's taken.
All right, very good. Next item is public comment. Is there any public comment tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Stephanie?
Check.
State your first and last name, please.
Stephanie, and the last name is Vaughn. V as in Victor, A-U-G-H-A. Okay?
G-H-N.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak. As a village, we're faced with some serious challenges. I wish to address the utility situation here tonight. People are being crushed under the burden of increased costs for water and electricity. Seniors are seeing their golden years turn to rust. Young families are struggling to take care of their children and make ends meet. Our current utility situation, quite frankly, is out of control. The specifics I will leave to those far more technically minded than I. At the very least, the utility billing practices should be scrutinized and modifications made. Excessive late charges, the window of time in which to pay a bill, as well as just common courtesy to residents doing the best they can, all need review. I would like to remind you that all of you sitting up here tonight are sitting there at our pleasure. We listen to your ideas, promises, and vote accordingly. A review of our agreements with the South Sangamon Water Commission and our electric provider should be priority one. The very same citizens that put you in office need relief. Voters have long memories. If any of you aspire to higher office in the village, now would be a good time to show us what you're made of. We have legal counsel sitting right here. Let's put their talents to work to start unraveling this coil of rope that will eventually strangle all of us here in the village. It's time to start earning your keep. We need relief, and we need it now. Thank you.
Bonnie?
Bonnie Billick, B-I-L. She's nodding, she knows me. The reason why I wanted to go second after Stephanie is that she had me read that, and she was nervous up here speaking, and unfortunately I don't write things down, I just come from the heart. Number one problem is 15 days for billing, okay? As you all know, because I've said it several times, not beating a dead horse, but I work for City Water, Light and Power for quite some time. Ramona, I think you know Ramona, the City Water, Light and Power. She's a village customer service person, and she does the billing and everything. And I'm sure if we're having an issue with the billing, I requested last time I spoke to ride with the meter reader. Taking my time off, losing a day of pay. I want to ride with the meter. I want to see how that bill, don't look at me like that. I want to see how it's downloaded. I want to see how it's filed. I want to see how it's folded, and I want to see how it's been sent out. There's no reason that there shouldn't be 30 days for somebody to pay their bill, unless you guys are looking for the extra income on the late fees, which is unfair to the village citizens. That's a major thing. But myself speaking, I had a spike from 20 to 92 in 1 month. Now, I could bring my adult children in here and they'll tell you, don't use the air. Husband's retired, nothing's changed, we didn't fill the pool. They think hell freezes over if my husband turns the air on. So that should tell you something. There's no way I believe that that reading is correct. And I can call and they'll come out, I know they will. You guys are great. You know, there's nothing against you, but there is a problem. I want you guys to seriously look at it. And the only other request that I have, because I'm not going to use my whole 5 minutes, is, Mayor, I really want you to be involved in this conversation with us village citizens. It never seems like when we have a comment that you're involved in it. So I'm requesting respectfully that you sort of get involved with our conversations on this whole thing. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Bonnie, quick question. Do you know, what is the billing cycle in Springfield?
Billing cycle in Springfield is
Yes,
30 days.
30 days, okay, thank you.
Just like my car payment, my house payment, and everything else.
Okay, thanks.
Okay?
Public comment? Paul?
Paul Packelhofer, and I suppose you want me to spell that?
Just like it sounds.
Just like it, no, P-A-C-H-L-H-O-F-E-R.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I too believe that the billing needs to be altered or changed, how things are sent out concerning the water and the electric bill and everything. I don't know when the last time it was reviewed or things of that matter, but I think that needs to be looked at, and I agree 30 days, because when I lived in Springfield for those many years, that's what it was with CWLP. And the 15th of the month is tough for a lot of people, because I realize that most people get paid on the 15th or the 16th or the different Fridays of the month or dates of the month, whatever. But I think that you really need to look at that and review it and see if it needs to be changed. I pulled my bills and usage from 2012 through 2015 so far. It's just my wife and I at home, just me and Kelly, okay? And there is no rhyme or reason for the water usage that I see all across the board here. I mean, only 2 people can do so much laundry and take so many baths and showers. And I don't water my lawn, because if you water it, you gotta mow it. But I compared apples to apples here. And I will give you one example. In February of 2012, I used 6,200 is what the water reading was. That's February of 2012 and September of 2014. Back in 2012, I was charged $47.55. 2014, I was charged $63.31. That's a 33% increase, if my math is correct. Now, I went to Griffin. My math may not be the greatest, but that's a 33% increase. Now, that's outrageous. September of 2012, 13, and May of 2015, I used the same amount. From September of 2012 to May of 2015, it was almost a 20% increase. Now, that's just absolutely outrageous. We have a water plant that we didn't want, that we cannot afford, and I want to know what's going to be done to alleviate the problems that a lot of the people, the citizens of Chatham, are having. And I look up here and I see deer in the headlights like I have seen for months and months and months. And, you know, all I'd like is some answers. That's all I want. It's not difficult. You're elected to do the job and to answer the questions. If you don't want to do the damn job, then quit. Thank you.
You guys need to applaud at least for keeping our sense of humor, right? That was good. Don't water me.
Jewel?
I have a question. Dave, you're the numbers guy, and I was sitting here in August when y'all decided to pass the rate increase. Can you please explain to me the difference? What it was and what you raised it to? What's the difference? Water and electric. There's a usage charge that increased, and then there's a rate increase that increased. Please tell us that.
Pat, do you have that presentation available?
I don't know what's that right now, Dave.
That's the easiest way to do it. There's a PowerPoint that accompanied it. Pat, if you'd send it, is a good rate. On the water structure, the usage charge is $25.99 per month. And then
What was it? Do you remember?
we changed the philosophy behind how it billed. So it's hard to, it's difficult to say what it was versus what it is because of what changed. What changed and what we discussed at that point in time was they're looking for a way to stabilize the water revenue to make that a self-sustaining fund. And the biggest
Because it was
difficulty.
in a deficit.
Correct. And the biggest difficulty that you get experience with both water and electricity is they're very cyclical because of the nature of the weather. If it's hot, you run your air conditioner. If it's hot, everybody but Paul waters their lawn.
Yeah.
So what that would cause is a constant fluctuation in what the revenue makes it very difficult to forecast, because you're trying to forecast both the revenue stream accompanying usage that's highly dependent on the weather.
Okay.
So trying to take some of that variability out is what that structure changed.
So, but the way I look at it when I get my bill is $25.99 just to have a meter.
Those were set as the cost to maintain a system, to replace pipes. All those things
So
come
how
and go.
much of that is going into our infrastructure and our repair and replace and our,
So we're 2 months into this, so at this point, it's not. It takes time to build that, and what
but
we looked at was a
didn't you set
year.
up something to where this much is going to be allocated for?
It'll take an entire fiscal year to get to that point where you've gotten, to see how effective the solution was. So we're a month and a half into that, and it takes time to analyze the result.
Well, you know what amount is going wherever you're putting it.
It all goes into a single fund. It goes into the water fund. And until you've run your course a year where you've done all your maintenance, you've paid all your bills, you've addressed any emergency, you've addressed any pipe breakage that happened, you don't know until the end of the year where you stand.
How much
Because
is allocated for capital improvements? That's all I want to know.
The-
Whether it's from the water or electric fund. You should have something.
Sherry, do you
set
have
aside.
our budget? So they're there, but
I'm
it
just
takes,
trying to
it does
understand.
take time. It ran a deficit last year. And that causes us to limit capital projects that are
I
occurring
get
right
that you
now.
had to raise rates, I get it, because you were facing a deficit because of poor decision making. I'm just trying to figure out how the.
We're the same, Jewel. Mark and I are gonna talk with Sherry about some options to start looking at comparison at a 4-month afterwards of how we're asking the same questions you are. So she is, after meeting, we're gonna try to answer those questions better.
Good, because it's a problem when
Right.
your taxes and your utilities are more than your house payment.
Right.
It's a problem. You guys are spending the money wrong. Something's wrong.
And if you guys discuss it, will we know? Yeah, as soon as we find out, yeah.
We will now.
Did you get an answer?
Well-
What's the rate before that?
It's-
Everybody was asking that today.
The rate?
I don't know how to answer that either.
The rates
Because
before
it
the change in the,
Yeah.
I believe it was $24.38 for your first 2,000 gallons,
Okay.
$9.11 facility fee, and $7.10
$0.10.
for every 1,000 gallons after you did the minimum.
So what percentage did it go up?
Every month?
Well, that's,
It depends on your usage because of that switch on the fixed portion.
There's
So-
a flat rate for your water.
Yeah, so then there is no answer. That
No,
really
there isn't.
No.
That's
Okay.
kind of what they did.
The spreadsheet that Pat has, and Pat, if you want to put that back on the village webpage, it shows.
take it
off, so it must be still on.
I couldn't find it today. I looked.
Well, there's a lot of things that are not on there anymore.
So it does show, depending on the level, the lowest consumption users did see a decrease at the very bottom of the scale. As you go up, it's more of an
That's
increase.
unfair for the older folks who are on a fixed income and only using the same amount.
The lower consumption
Right,
users
they're-
saw a decrease,
Oh, I thought you said an increase.
a decrease.
Okay, well, that's good news. Okay, that's right. I intend on talking to a few of the old ladies that I talked to in the village, and hopefully, that's right.
And we're not unique in this situation. Follow the conversation that's going probably at this exact same time.
Springfield, yeah. I don't care about that. What I care about is where I live.
That's right.
And we made a move to address that.
We just moved here in December.
Sir,
So we're,
if you wouldn't mind, come up here to the microphone and give the clerk your name.
Tom Everett, E-R-I-N-G.
Thank you.
We just moved here in December and we're trying to figure out this rate thing. And I had, the other day, she ran what we've used in her consumption, where I see consumption goes from 5 units to 32 units, but the cost is still the same. So I can understand if the consumption is fluctuating, the cost of it should fluctuate. But when the cost isn't, and I'm spending twice as much for water and sewage that I did in Springfield. Because like I said, we just moved here from Springfield in December. So I know what I was paying there and I know what I'm paying here, and it's twice as much. And like I said, I use 5 units on through about 31 units, and the cost is within $1 of each other. How can that be?
Without looking, I can't answer.
There you go.
And the better ones are in the utility lines.
Because if you look back here, you see a 5 on February 4th, and you see it's 13, 31, 22, 15. But if you look at cost, make sure I get the right. They're all, other than this last month, and I know I used a lot of word, they're all running pretty much the same. In fact, the one bill was, the sewer is 1903 exactly for 3 months in a row. But the consumption is not the same. So I don't understand that.
Sherry, can you help Mr. Edmund?
I think probably your presentation would really be helpful because when you started here, we were doing a basic activity charter. And then we got so much with minimum charge of consumption, and then now we've got a base charge of $25.99, and you're getting charged for $1,000 of consumption on top of that. But I think that presentation is out there on our website. It was under other information. That could probably shed a lot of light on.
So the bills that you talked about, under the old structure, depending if you were talking about water, the first 2,000 gallons were included. So those numbers where you're looking at where it's varying between 20, 21, 22, that's all in that first charge. That's why they don't vary.
Yeah, but I had 5 units and 32 units, and the cost was about the same.
Sherry will help you better, but this is a good, there is a better explanation on there. It was an hour-long presentation.
And that was before we did the rate increase.
Yeah, well, the rate increase is when in August, right?
Right.
So all would be basically before the rate increase, except the last 2 months. But, like I said, if it's 5 units in February,
That's not it.
13 the next month.
That's not.
Here's February. Both the same. Like, to the penny, the same amount, but you went from 5 units to 13 units. Well, 5 units to 13 units. I mean, that's 7 units difference, but it's to the penny.
You're right, it should be, because within your minimum charges, you've got up to 2,000 gallons of water. Your 1,300 gallons or 500 gallons, you're gonna pay the same under the old pricing.
So who did they donate to that after
For 31 gallons, it's within a few pennies.
That's the question.
That's a great question.
43 cents difference.
My husband don't kill me.
Okay, sewer would be different
Well,
because.
You know, I'm not trying to let them talk, but, you know, one of the things that I brought up before and was gonna ask Sherry about this is the late fee situation that we have. What do we pay as a percentage on a late fee for our utility bills? What's the percentage of late fee that's tacked on?
If you're late, it's 10% on the current bill.
Okay. And we don't really give, I notice on our bill, there's no grace period in there for basically a drop dead date. Like mine's the 15th, if it's after that, you pay X amount of dollars.
I mean, as soon as.
With these, single moms and dads with, they're making minimum wage. How do you cut them off with kids? I mean, you guys don't even do a payment plan or anything. You just cut it off. I mean, why can't there be a payment plan or something while all this stuff is going on?
We do allow people to make payment arrangements.
Ooh,
Every time I call, I've been told that that's not available.
it is what it is what I'm told.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, these girls are so rude over there.
It starts out with you people.
You know,
Right.
it's ridiculous.
The thing though that I do notice is the difference in my Ameren bill and our village bill in terms of the late fee that's assessed. I mean, Ameren, you know, the bill may be, you know, $45 and then it's like, maybe like 85 cents or $1.08 afterwards. And I don't know, I haven't gone through to figure out the percentage that they're charging on a late fee, but 1.5%.
Yeah.
And we're charging 10%, you know, so.
I dug through all the various utility bills that we get through in our company, and I saw, so we're in 3 different areas with 5 different utility providers. So the range is anywhere from 1, 1.5, 10. There's a variety of payment terms that are from 7 days to 15 to 21. CWLP's 21 for their handling. I've got it if you want me to show you. And all those things can be debated, and, you know, I had a pretty good conversation with Pat on what's needed to, you know, give effective guidance to the utility department on what constitutes a legitimate repayment plan, you know, in some kind of way to work with people. But the one thing that was common from every utility provider that was on there is that the second month, if you're not on the agreed upon plan or haven't made an agreed upon plan, the remedy is a shut-off.
Well, we don't have a plan. Of course we have a shut-off.
So what happens in the wintertime when the state law, I think, says you can't turn off heat to people that have children?
We do not turn off heat, electric in the wintertime. We abide
There's certain
by the
months
laws.
where you can't do it, and if it's below a certain degree, you can't do
Inform
it.
these people that work over there. You guys, the point is, you know, I used to live here. I got out. I have a 4,500 square foot home now with a pool. My bill is no more than $250. Mayor, you need to hear this. I have a small business here. I just got my bill. It's almost $300. We're not there at night. We're not there on weekends. We have a holiday water. What are we doing? Now I'm going to have to move my small business. I mean, you guys are hurting people coming in from, you are. I'm a small business. I'm looking. I'm moving out. I mean, you're not going to get companies in here. It's not going to happen. And I don't know why you sit there and you don't hear people speak. People are wanting to move. They might not come in here and tell you, but they want out. But I doubt they can sell their house.
Ma'am.
I was just wondering, like my husband said, we're new here. Why did we switch from Springfield Water?
You get that
Let's hear
answer
it.
and you get $1 million.
I need that.
She needs to repair bill. Yeah. Just say it was satisfying egos is what the answer is.
Well, I'll say this, as a person that was sitting on the board at the time, there was a vote taken by 6 members of the board, of which I was one of them. 5 of them voted to go on our own and create the situation that we're in now, which is higher cost and lower quality than what we did have. And I was one of those 6 that voted no, because I believed that we couldn't have the pot of gold that we had said that we could have. And now we're in a pile of muddy SSWC water. So.
And we owe nothing when we're done. I think that's always a really,
Yes. Nothing.
We're going to pay.
Yeah, we're paying for a
We're
pig in a boat.
and we don't even own it when we're done buying it.
Yes.
How difficult would it be to change the due date from the 15th to the 30th of every month so that people do have the 30 days to pay their bill? is that an act of God to get that changed? What procedure needs to be taken? Do we need to petition, have people sign a petition saying that we would like 30 days to pay the bill?
I think we could look in.
What
I think that
is
needs to be
this-
looked at.
No, I think at this point, I mean, you know, in talking with citizens over the last week, the bills to me seem just unexplainable. And I even tried to back into the numbers, and I can't seem to do so. And I think there's a multitude of issues here that we need to reassess. I mean, just because we change the philosophy doesn't mean we can change it again. But, you know, I think about it twofold. Yeah, we are put over a barrel right now over SSWC. They're our wholesale water supplier. They can raise the rates, and we have no control over that. We had to raise these rates in order to make that fund solvent, the water fund solvent, because we kept borrowing money from other funds, and we had no funds available for any kind of emergency or capital improvements. Unfortunately, it seems that this rate increase has been pretty dramatic, or I can't seem to figure out why bills are as high as they are, given the numbers that I've ran. But it seems too, it's an overwhelming concern in the community, as the QSIN report indicated, that the biggest complaint was it could be meter reading, false readings, because I think people are shocked at their bills like this. But whether it's a software glitch, whether it's something that we need to explore with our software vendors, whatever the case may be, I'm totally in support of reassessing the way we bill, the late fees, how these, just our general operations and our utility to figure out how we can better serve the citizens. And I think that's the most fair way to do it at this point. I understand there's a lot of frustration in the community. There's a lot of concern, there's a lot of lack of trust. So I think it would behoove the board to really push for that.
I just feel that it wasn't done yesterday, it's not going to be done today, and it's still not going to be done tomorrow. So therefore, it needs to be done now. It actually needs to be the front burner, because next month is even going to be more difficult. Holidays are coming up. It's going to ruin a lot of people's holidays. So now is the time to really take the hard look. Not next month or the next, but now. I don't know how difficult it is. I've never sat where you've sat. All I know is I've paid my bills all through the years, and if I had $5, of that $5, if I had to allot 50 cents for this bill, 50 cents for this bill, and in my opinion, that's the way I understood you set the billing up for the water and electricity, because you have X amount of dollars from each individual household. So $5 has got to go to this, $5 has got to go to this, $5 has got to go to this. Anything above that you can allot. You already know specifically for each household, you're going to get X amount of dollars, for sure. Unless the bill's not paid, but that's another story. So I don't understand how you can't say that you have $5 for infrastructure, $5 to pay the bill from South Sangamon, $5 for this, because we start out at $25.99. Do you see where I'm coming from on that?
This is where you start. $6.85 of every $1,000 goes to South Sangamon Water Commission. The rest is used to staff a utility department, to pay for all the maintenance, to pay for the ongoing meter readings, to pay for the expenses of operating a system within your town. That's where it goes.
Would you guys consider, if you were going to seriously, in the immediate future, look at the billing software, the meter reading situation, that could you guys seriously consider putting on hold anybody to have their utilities cut until you are sure that that's not a situation?
Well, I just know from the billing, I feel like this has been ongoing since the water bills issue came up. And like I said, again, I think from a board standpoint and a citizen standpoint, I need to have a better understanding of how these things are formulated, because when people come in with unexplainable bills, it's really hard for me to make a decision on saying, well, you should be cut off or you should not be cut off, because like I said, I couldn't back into numbers in some of these bills. I don't understand how it's been calculated, whether it's an error, whether it's not. But it's concerning to me, because the jumps in some people's bills are, as you guys are well aware, they're head scratchers.
That's why I want to write the meter reader, follow that billing through.
Yeah, that's why we want a step-by-step.
I want to do that.
Mark, thanks for committing to looking into that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I agree that we probably, we need to do what Mark is saying, I think so. But for the immediate time right now, Pat and Sherry, how hard would it be to extend a grace period of like, say, 5 days?
That would be awesome.
I mean, with the software we have,
My mortgage company gives me 15.
Yeah. So you may want to go.
This is our flavor, and it's not automatic. I mean, someone has to start that process for, so it's not easily goes to be generated.
So it's not programmed?
No, it's not programmed.
So if you wanted to change a due date from 15 to 21,
It's not that big.
What will cause, and this is like an internal problem, it causes confusion when your past due notices go out at the same time as your disconnects.
but the disconnects follow at 2 months, correct?
Right.
So you've had a past due notice by the time you get a disconnect. Correct.
well, I mean, the past due notices go out at, what, usually the 18th right now? The 19th?
That's usually when they're mailed, yeah.
Okay, so would there be a concern if we said, well, I mean, I still think you can do a past due notice, because if you do if it's due on the 15th, you have a grace, you may have a grace period of 5 days, but your bill on the 18th is still past due. It's just that if you could get it paid on the 19th, then you wouldn't have that extra charge. And I think that's one of the things that's a concern here.
Any extra charge? Question.
The late fee.
This may sound very simplistic, but do we have an ongoing relationship? As in, if you have a problem, you can call up and ask them, with the software provider for this billing software?
Yes, I mean,
Okay, then, since we're having all of these problems, wouldn't it behoove us to get these people on the horn and say, we've got issues here, we're getting bills that are up, down, left, right, sideways, and we need someone to come down here and analyze our software. We're having a problem. How difficult would that be?
That would be something that they do, and they audit the utility bills.
And we can certainly, we can certainly call the vendor, they work for us, we can certainly
I
call
didn't
it.
know if it's like, they bought the program, and they send you little updates, and then they're done, or if you had an ongoing relationship of support from these people.
There's a problem, you're paying for it, you should be able to call them. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Can I make a suggestion here? The due dates and the penalties are set forth in the village code. One thing you may want to consider is, perhaps if there's a consensus tonight that you can put a moratorium on having late notices issued at least until, kind of further action of the village board. We could then come back at the next meeting, perhaps have a slight modification to this code provision that, addresses some of these issues and allows kind of a more formal process. Maybe we look at extending the days, but in the week between now and then, we can, look at some of these issues and what some of the solutions are. But perhaps see if there's a consensus to kind of direct staff not to be issuing some of these late notices, at least in the next week.
And I would be in support of that until we do get, and hopefully at our next committee meeting, we can have, that change, like you said, made. Late notices don't go out till, this, and this is what the late fee's gonna be, and even our billing cycle, whether it be a 21 or 30. I think several trustees have stated that I think those items are necessary for the utility.
I'm in agreement with that.
I agree.
That's fine. I think there's a consensus. All right.
I have an additional comment.
Sure.
And this is probably on the agenda, I think, for later, and it's regarding the backup water source. But thank you guys for getting that taken care of quickly. I know I was on email and phone calls from a lot of you. I think it was at least initiated, but if you want to talk about it later when it's on the agenda, fine. I just wanted to thank you.
Is there any, and we'll talk about it, we can get into that. Anybody else with public comment?
That's one bugging me. My name is Andrea Parker, you probably know that. This past week, probably week and a half, on social media, people in Chatham talking about the utility office. A lady who, amazingly, in all this group I happen to know, couldn't pay her bill because it had spiked up so far. She went over there and asked for extra time. Nope, you've got to pay it now. And we're shutting you off. And she said, well, I don't have the money to pay it now. And they said, well, you bring it in, and if you get it in on time, fine. She brought it in, scrambled and got the money. She brought it in, paid the bill, and she got shut off anyway. Now, that kind of stuff, and it was one particular person she was dealing with, and when she put that out there, it opened the floodgate. And people were coming right and left, saying their interaction with this person was rude, and I don't care, and the words, you people, which is derogatory. And so, I think something needs to be done, especially since several people made the comment that this person is getting favors done for her by people that work for the village. Snow plowing, things like that. So something has to be done over there to stop, first of all, to stop being rude to the customers or to her employers because we're paying her salary. And people need a course in how to talk to the public and how to interact with the public. I mean, that's ridiculous, that kind of situation. Tell them, bring it in, and then cut them off anyway once they've paid the bill. That has got to stop. I mean, I don't care if they've worked there for 100 years. If you don't have proper business manners and you can't conduct yourself in a business-like manner and not be rude to people, and if you don't like your job, give it up. There's tons of people in this village that would love to have that job. But if you don't like it, retire. But don't be rude to people.
Is there a way we can have Jamie look into this person? I know this is not the first time.
That's not for me to...
No, I'm saying to the mayor, is there a way we can have Jamie look into this?
It's a personnel matter, Jeff.
Yeah, we can.
Or we can discuss it.
Administratively,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, because this is not the first time this issue, and I'm not going to assume because we all know what that does, but I'm not going to assume who it is, but we have had several issues brought up about certain people over there, so.
Yeah, because
If that happens to be the same one, then I think it really needs to.
I mean, I'm looking for somebody
Addressed
to
and
plow
looked
me
at.
out in the winter too, for free. But another thing I wanted to mention too is that not just the way that people talk over there, but making differences for somebody you know, that kind of stuff has got to stop as well. You know, that has got to stop because I don't care how careful you are in getting it done, it always comes out. We always find out about it, always. And every time we find out about this stuff, we're going to be right here telling you about it. This place has got to be run in a more business-like manner and a more civil manner, and stop running it like a good old boy system. That time is past, including the time to hire people. We're tired of having the same friends of friends of friends of friends coming along and getting a job. Because that's not going to work. Something like that always falls apart. It always falls apart. We need to hire people that are qualified for jobs And when they get in there, they need to be watched and given reviews every once in a while. Sometimes anonymously is what it takes. Hide in the corner and see how they interact with people. But this kind of stuff has got to stop. This is a huge community. We pay big-time taxes. We're paying up the nose for water, which, by the way, my utility bill has now doubled as of today's, has doubled in the last 3 years. And there's no change. 2 people in the house, dog, cat, you know. So that's all I had to say. We need to get more professional.
Well, and I want to say thank you for bringing those things to us, because if the people like you and citizens don't bring those issues to us, we don't know about them. And, you know, I think those are all issues that this board is really trying to turn and change. And I think we've done a lot of that, is change some of the ways we've done things. And there's more to come. You know, we haven't turned the wheel yet, but we're going to finish it and make things right.
It's no longer a little town anymore where you can have your brother-in-law come in and run your business. You've got to do it professionally, and it gets out. I mean, there probably was 50 to 75 comments after that lady published her statement about the utility office. So that should tell you that it's not a single incident. Thank you.
Hey, Pat, do you know, have you guys, through HR, do you guys ever do any customer service training or anything like that?
I would say there is not.
There hasn't been any?
There is not.
We have done assessments.
Have you?
Done some webinars.
Like, how often do you do it?
In the past 4 years, I think we've done a couple of them.
Are there annual performance reviews?
Are there any performance?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, I mean, because I kind of look at, I mean, some of these things are issues, and I understand employees, and I'm not defending the employees, because when I worked for Secretary White, Secretary of State, customer service was always top priority, and we did customer service training biannually, because in government and the business like that, the business that we're in, I mean, customer service, you're dealing with the public on a daily basis, is number one. And, you know, really these things start from the hierarchy of the top of the administration and work their way down. If it's not being done, you know, through the administration, we're not providing the employees with that public service training to learn how to interact with the public in the manner they're supposed to, then, you know, to me, that's a red flag, and that's something that we need to seriously be looking at right now. And I've seen this, I think, you know, in this village and this organization over the years, there's just a lack of policies in here, and there's a lack of proper training and commitment to people that are supposed to be public servants, you know? And it's not the employee's fault, because they can only do so much with the tools that they are given an opportunity to do it with. It really comes from the administration and trickles its way down.
Thank you.
Can I just add?
Yes, sir.
I just went into the utility company this week, and I haven't been in there a lot, so I haven't. But the 2 girls I talked to, I had no problem with. They printed out the past year's information and tried to explain it to me. I didn't have a problem. But when it comes to customer service, it's real simple. Treat others as you want to be treated. It's that plain and simple.
I think some of the frustration that our office has to deal with is the lack of a disciplined policy, of a structure that they need to follow. For too long, we've had it where it's left up to the girls in the office to decide how much you have to pay on your past due bill. You know, City of Springfield has a plan where you have to pay a quarter for 4 straight months to make up that debt. We need to incorporate something like that into our system.
And I know you brought that up. You brought that up a couple weeks ago, Pat, and I think that's a good idea.
Sherry started looking at it. She's pulled Springfield's program, and I said I wanted her and the girls to sit down and go through it in detail. Come back, show it to the staff, and then we would bring it to the board for you guys to take a look at. But we should not put that kind of pressure on a clerk across the office to have to determine, either make a person mad or make a person happy with her decision. It should be laid out ahead of time, exactly which policy we need to do and go through.
Pat, are there no methods and procedures over there?
There are, but they're flexible. And I would prefer no flexibility. This is the rule, follow it. If you come in, if you're late, and you work out the plan with them, and you're gonna pay it over a 4-month period, you're gonna pay back what you owe because you weren't able to make it. That first month, you gotta make at least a quarter of the bill. The next month, you have to pay your whole bill and a quarter of the bill from the month before. The third month, you pay your whole bill that month and a quarter from that month that you weren't able to pay it. In 4 months then, you've paid off your bill. If you miss any of those, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to cut you off. Because we can't be in the loan business.
That's a key word, I'm sorry. It's not okay with plan, you can't make it, I'm sorry. This is our procedure. And Pat brings up a good point that I think you guys need to realize we're finding a lot of holes that we're trying to work on, and Pat has been very open and trying to solve some, we need some more plans and policies in place, and that's something we're all as a board saying, we need to have the structure better. And he's doing a great job of it. It doesn't happen overnight. I wish it did, trust me. I wish this all moved a lot faster than it does in my world. But we are getting there, and we're finding holes, and you guys communicating with us on things that you see is helping. I know you're frustrated. We're frustrated as well, but we're trying to find that solution. So.
That's why they need to at least go in the meantime, at least the courtesy.
Yeah.
A courteous voice on the other end when you call, and some consistency when you call, that someone doesn't get told they get a plan and someone's told they don't. That isn't even, that goes beyond procedure, that's just common sense. Either you do or you don't. You're doing a favor or you're not. So if we all understand we're all in this situation and it's a burden to everybody, then let's make it as easy on everybody paying these bills as possible.
If someone calls the office and they felt they were treated rudely, I would like for them to call Sherry. She's the boss of the office. If you're not satisfied with her response, then feel free to call me.
Okay.
But that's the proper procedure. It doesn't help at all for you to go home and get on social media and say that I was treated rudely.
But it does help because social media brought the water thing out to light.
No, because we could have solved the problem right off the bat if you would have called Sherry or called me.
I totally disagree with that. Totally. Because I've lived here for 15 years and I've been making phone calls. And no one cared about anything I had to say until it hit social media, which is ridiculous.
Well, we have a new interim manager now, things are changing. It's all gonna get there.
We'll see.
Any other comments? All right. Moving along, we have a lot of ground to cover tonight, and thank you all for your input, and thank you, and we're gonna get on to this, okay? Approval of the minutes, are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to put the minutes on the table.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, into old water business, or into old water business. The Smith water dispute, are the Smiths?
They are not here.
Okay, we'll skip that.
Move that off of our agenda at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
talked about how many opportunities we're gonna get.
So should we move that to collections then?
I think they've already paid.
They paid it all back.
Oh, they paid, all right.
Yeah.
We just wanted-
Yeah.
So we'll take that off of old business for now. Okay. Next item under old business is the snow removal route policy. In front of you, Shane and the street department have put together looks like a draft of an inclement weather vehicle parking policy. We've kind of discussed this the last few times. But yeah, up there, I believe, was the Auburn policy, but Shane, do you want to talk about, the issues and where you guys think the direction of this is
Yeah, the thing
headed.
is just, and it's not every time it snows, it's just every time we get large amounts of snow that's expected. The guys just have a very difficult time when everybody leaves their vehicles out in the road. And then come in and then there's huge piles around vehicles that nobody can get their vehicles out. Or when they pick up, they pretty much block everybody's driveway and trying to go around people's cars. So we're just trying to eliminate folks parking out in the streets and in cul-de-sacs during the large snows. It's kind of I think it's kind of a simple policy. It's not too aggressive, but there would be a fine or a tow. That would be up to you guys to decide that kind of, if we wanted to go that route with it or not.
Have you happened to look into that, what other communities charge for fees? Do we know?
Springfield, if you're on their snow route, you're towed, it's your baby.
Yeah.
So it's Smitty's towing service at $125, that's what you pay.
Anywhere from $100 to $300, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Shane, have you drawn the routes, selected the,
No, I'm not asking for routes, I'm just asking for all across Chatham. Just for large snows, it's not.
So what you want to say is if it's over if it's X number of feet, we want to send out some type of alert to say, get your car off the street so we can plow.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're saying, right?
Okay. Through e-alerts and through Facebook, police department have.
Do you have a set amount that you want to?
I don't think, it's necessarily just so we can plow. I think, digging into this a little bit deeper, and from the police and the fire perspective, vehicles and inclement weather on the street is gonna definitely cause a severe public safety hazard. If these guys are out having to get around town and maneuver, if they get an emergency call and something like that. So, not saying it's not important for the plowing perspective, but.
Vern, are you the ones that set the snow routes or no?
There are no snow routes.
What, but that's what you're contemplating with this?
No, I want.
No?
Essentially make the whole-
Every street in town?
And to get into what you were saying, the one that was up there that he had given us, one of them, Auburn, what they do is they do the tow expense and then they charge $25 fine per vehicle.
Well, and one thing I was talking was, do we want, 6 inches, is that what you want to constitute a emergency as, or 3, or?
I'm saying, I won't say anything above 3 inches. Because by that time, the larger roads that we have, especially with the wind, Savannah, south winds especially, Ptarmigan, South Main, Walnut Street, they're just, so the guys spending time to try to maneuver around vehicles, they can actually concentrate on, get the snow plowed on the minor roads and then constantly concentrate on the main roads.
Well, all those roads you just mentioned drift horrifically.
Oh, yeah,
Out there
well,
especially.
that when cars are parked on them.
Yeah.
I see a definite issue though with some of the older parts of town, especially the Little Britain area over by Nottingham, Buckingham, where, they have to park them on the street. There's no driveway space. So, you go over there.
It's draft.
No, I'm just throwing it out there because I know you're gonna have an abundant amount of people over there that are, don't have anywhere to put their cars.
So what do we now, when we plow down a street, do we, I know we don't intentionally plow in that car, but, we have to plow the street so it's drivable. So a lot of times is that car plowed into
Yes.
snow on each side, and we just move on then?
We have no choice.
Well, exactly.
Well, like down on my street on Downing, the few people pretty much in the middle of the road there, when they know it's gonna snow, they don't even bother parking in the driveway, they park out on the road. So they've got a straight shot out, and then basically it's literally one lane, and the larger plows can't go through there. So we're stuck with the one-ton plows trying to plow those roads.
Is there a way for that area that you're talking about, Mark, to give them warning and give them to move to different area? You know what I mean?
Well, and I guess
We've got-
the big concern for me over there is that right away is a lot of them have built these like makeshift driveways
Yeah.
along the sides of the road, and that's where,
And like I said, the wording in this can change too.
Yeah.
The streets, especially for the oil and shit, because people have made extra driveways, I mean, I'm
it's
just.
probably butts up to the right way at least, so we're not into it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they usually take about 10 feet out of it, so if they're, well, my kids were parking there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we can, I'm not against it all. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal to move your car. If there's situations where it's gonna be a problem we need to look at, but, I mean, I came from cities where if you didn't shovel your sidewalk, you were gonna get a ticket, so.
In that area is a one-off too, I think,
Yeah.
for the most part. But I wouldn't want to see, 20 cars towed out there.
But there's that same problem in some of the newer subdivisions too, Fox Creek, I think Fox Creek Drive there. There's a lot of cars that park on that street, the one that's right behind the mall. And then over on Wintergreen, there's a lot of cars that have to park on that street because it's a duplex.
It's a duplex
There's
with a
one
one-car
car
driveway.
driveway and, you got a couple that lives there and a kid or two and there's cars all over the street. So we really need to think about it to make sure we know exactly. what
And
we're-
it's not for every snow, it's just for the larger, the larger snows.
Is this something that we might want to think about doing like a trial, like this year, without any fees, fines, or towing, and just get that out there, just to see if people would voluntarily comply with it, and say like, next time we have a snowfall, we get a alert out, we use social media, and we say, it's gonna snow, please get your car off the street tonight, so we can plow.
I
And
think
just see
we
what
did that
happens.
at least once last year.
Okay.
We sent out an alert.
Did it
asking
work?
everybody. The guys did say that it was a lot better, that people, that they weren't thinking about it before, but it had brought it to their attention that, what, if I could pull this in a driveway and get that street cleaned, it'd make it a lot easier for everyone.
And is there a way possibly that in our winter month bills, that we include something in there stating that, if it snows X amount, be sure to make sure your cars are off the roads? Kind of as a reminder, get the cars off the roads. And everybody gets a bill. I mean, so I would think that,
I wouldn't say X amount, I would just put it in there as a reminder to remove your cars off the road if there's a snow, to make it better for everybody, including emergency vehicles.
yeah.
But I also, when I open up, like whether it's a charge card or whether, I throw away all the extraneous stuff. I don't even read it.
Well, there's extra
I'm not the
parts,
only person.
there's extra parts on our bill, different places we can put little notes and messages.
No, that's why I think we're talking about social media and alerts and stuff like that.
Mix.
Yeah.
Water not
Something
yours.
needs to be done. Shane, I don't know. I used to live over Goldenrod. The poor guys, it was terrible last year. They tried to get all
So what do we
that
wanna
snow. People were parked everywhere.
It's
You
just,
know, kids running in and out.
it's basic.
Did you put this in a place because there was still problems after the alert was sent?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean,
In
that's the
certain areas,
thing.
yeah.
Can we do a small fine for this that you guys can actually enforce, Vern, or not? No?
Be difficult.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, is that something? I mean,
I think,
I mean, I think I'd like to go back to kind of a shame, it is a draft, I would like to go back to the drawing board a little bit, and maybe if we're not going to full, he's proposing a full, with the whole village, maybe look at a specific route for our main thoroughfares as well, so it's definitely something we need to probably take a look at.
Yeah, what
and
routes?
reconsider as far as
Safety.
what we deem our emergency routes.
that's a good idea. I think that might be a better option, just because I don't like the fake thing, like, hey, we're gonna do it next time, because, I mean, that's, no offense, it's kind of like the timing thing. People really know they're not getting tickets. I know people are like, hey, let me see if I can go, how fast I can go. So, I mean, we don't want to get that same, I mean, it is, that's what it's turned into. I mean, I have friends that do it, so, won't tell you.
why don't you, Shane, why don't you and Vern, why don't you guys meet and talk about the routes and things, and then maybe put something together. I mean, if we do have designated snow routes or things like that, if that's the way that you want to go, and, this is a good start and a good conversation for us to have. The one thing, do we need to put in the policy, do we need to put in a amount, like a snow amount in there specific, or is how?
I'm open for anything like that, yeah, so.
Okay.
How many users do we have on Ealer, do you know?
We're just under 5,000, which is pretty good.
I have a quick question for Shane. When I first moved here, I lived off of Savannah on Nellie. In the field out there in Delano Terminal 2, they used to put up blizzard fence. And that seemed to, I mean, God, it had to have been a huge help to you guys. Because when there's heavy snow, I see you guys going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because it just drifts so bad. Can we do that again? I mean, it helps you guys.
It's up to, back then, when they were doing that, I was just in the electric department. But the issues that they had prior to that was when they put the snow fence out, it was dry. And the farmer didn't care.
Right.
But once it starts thawing out, it's almost impossible to get that fence out of there, especially on that plowed field.
Okay, well, there's an easement there, off Savannah. People walk their dogs along there all the time.
But you have to get the fence far enough away from the road, because the idea of the snow fence is it hits the fence and then drops over on the other side. So if you put it too close to the road, so then it'll do the opposite effect, it'll drop it and drop it all right on the road.
Okay, I understand. I just wondered, if that was a possibility at all,
I've been doing some research on Iowa has a college up there was doing it's basically called live snow fence. It was just their leftover, they paid the farmer to leave 15 to 20 rows of corn, approximately 50 feet out in the field.
Okay.
This problem could become less prominent later on because farming in, that they're going to start building a new subdivision there, so eventually we'll hopefully get farming under control, we won't have to drift in.
Okay. We'll keep this on for a couple of weeks, give you guys time to get together on this, on the routes and stuff and talk. All right. Next is the inspector independent contractor ordinance. You have in front of you the handout from Sorling here with regard to this, and Greg put together a memorandum on this. I'll just let you guys talk about the pros and cons.
All right, we've got two different sample ordinances. One would basically make the inspectors, both of it reorganizes the inspector process to make it a little bit clearer. One provides that they would be independent contractors. It's our interpretation that's essentially what they are now. The village provides 1099 forms. There are no benefits paid. They kind of contract with these individuals, and then they go out there and do the work, and there's really not a whole lot of supervision or control over it. The other ordinance would make them basically employees of the village, and you'd have kind of an employment contract with them. I think it's probably safe to say that staff is probably leaning more towards a recommendation of going with the independent contractor version of this. I know that one concern that's been raised is, they're not necessarily subject to the or the Tort Immunity Act if they're independent contractors. However, they could, get their own insurance. We could help provide stipends for that type of thing if that's a concern. And that ultimately probably gives better protection to the village if they're independent contractors. However, it's really a policy decision as to how you guys want to set it up.
But my question is the independent contractors, like, for example, our plumbing inspector, I guess is Kurt, right? Kurtwood. And as Kurtwood Plumbing, he has his own insurance.
Right.
Or, Joe Smith that might do our electric. So I don't know why the village would have to provide additional if they already have their own insurance. And I don't see why we would have an unbonded, unlicensed inspector doing work for the village anyway.
And I think that's part of what Ryan's wanting to get to, is having more kind of professional people doing these inspections who have the certifications, the trainings, the background, who are probably more likely to have the type of insurance that they would need on something like this.
I'm a big fan of just because you can, if it's not working out, you can eliminate it a lot easier and find a new contractor.
I understand. Look at the chart. There's no issues with independent contractors with the IMRF and compensation, workers' comp and
No,
everything.
and that's the thing, where you guys are at a 600-hour IMRF limitation, so if you go with the employment, then you have to, these contractors might be doing more work, more plan review. If you've got more subdivisions coming in, if they hit that 600 hours, then you've also got to do the IMRF benefits.
The other issue you face is we've always done this as a work product payment versus an hourly payment, and that starts to stretch into some difficult areas that you can get into with the Department of Labor and the Labor Relations Board. So in the independent contractor provisions that you set up, essentially it says, here's the code book, inspect to the code book. What does get left behind when they're not your employee is the strict degree of control. Because if you start crossing control in how they're doing their inspections, what tools you're doing the inspection with, then you raise IRS classification issues.
That's right, but you could always, go to a new inspector that does it better, has a better process or something.
So I think there's a consensus, just listening for the independent contractor.
Okay.
Are we looking at having, I know we have one plumbing inspector right now. Are we looking at having maybe a couple plumbing inspectors out there, or same with?
It would probably be great if I could do that, but I just, right now, I'm just trying to get the 4 I need, plumbing, mechanical, electrical, and framing in line, and then if I needed a backup somewhere, I would work on that, but just trying to get it initially started, I can't guarantee when that will happen, when I could go to a backup person.
And you're comfortable with this?
I am much more comfortable with doing with not making them an employee because of the paperwork that would be involved, the possible 600-hour overages for the IMRF. That would be a complete nightmare for all of us, and I really like the independent contractor form.
All right, Elaine, will you make sure that we have this ordinance for the regular board meeting next time?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, moving on, leak detection services. Shane, I think you and I, did you go out and get some?
Yeah, we got 3 quotes.
I believe they're attached behind the inclement weather policy there. Are they in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there is the lowest quote came in at $28,050 from ME Simpson Company. The second one came in.
There's not much difference with the rest.
It's pretty fun.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have
Leak detection services was $33,264, and the ATS services for the whole package was $39,960.
It's back
I'm missing a page?
Way in the back.
in the back.
Oh, okay.
ME Simpson is the lowest.
There.
Well, I've got a copy, if you guys want to review the copies of the, their proposals, I've got here in the back.
33,264.
Okay.
And then, there's some options, one's 26,000.
Why is there,
I'm sorry.
why is there a $10,000 difference? I'm all for saving money, but I want to make sure we're not getting a
Well,
company that's not as high
I've got
quality.
proposals back there, the $39,000 quote, that was the all-inclusive, that was the same thing that the ME Simpson was including. ATS, they said they're real busy right now, so they came up with a proposal of, I believe it was $26,000. But every leak that they found, they were going to charge you $450 for every leak.
All right.
How much, and how much, Shane, when they do this, I'm sure you've talked to these guys, like a small leak, something like that, how much does that say, is there figure that they've talked to you about if they find stuff per 1,000 gallon or per 100 a
It's gonna end
gallon?
up being about like with us at home, and if you have a quarter-inch leak, you're looking at 15 to 20,000 gallons extra a month, so.
What do they typically find? Do they have a kind of a benchmark of what they typically find? Depending on the distribution system, I imagine, but.
They never really said, they've just said places, the cities that they've done all the work for. The only places that didn't give any reference was the leak detection services. The other two companies, ATS and M.E. Simpson, both gave recommendations.
Well, and M.E. Simpson, I've heard good things about from local people as well, so. You know, maybe we're spending a little bit more, but getting, well, no, they're actually lower.
Yeah, they're low. The total package from ATS was 39,000. That's the exact same thing that ATS was going to do.
Okay.
And then we just need, and we'll find out what our facilities are. And it changes our infrastructure.
Do they give any kind of indication though, based on the age of our distribution system where they thought?
No, because the growth of us was so fast, certain portions of town are around 80 years old, and the rest of it, we work less than 5, so. They don't seem to have too much on the plastic, they don't, cast iron, we don't have any old wood mains like Springfield and Jacksonville, so.
When would we be starting this? When would they start this?
As soon as we get the approval of the ordinance written, they can come out, they said they come out for a pre-meeting, and then investigation, and I said, if you'd like them to show up, I could probably get one of the guys to show up with a presentation.
Yeah, right here.
Is
This is for water line meters?
No, this is.
Meters or what?
They're testing all the water main, they're sounding all the water mains, the house services from the meters back, that's where they're putting the machine on the meters, back to the water mains and all the water valves, to find out if there's any leaks. There's 84 miles of line.
Why don't we just line them?
Find what? The mains?
All the new old lines and stuff that we might be concerned about having leaks and stuff.
These are water mains, these are the cast iron water mains.
Are the hydrants included?
Yes.
The idea behind this is, we're spending, if South Sangamon bills us for $2 million, and we're only able to bill our customers for $1.5 million, we're losing $500,000 every year that you pay for, I pay for, you pay for, because it's just loss that's leaking out through the system. If we find just a few leaks, it easily pays for this and starts banking money for us for the future. It's worth at least doing one time. They want to do it once every 2 years.
They suggested it, but.
Yeah. But I think if we did it once and saw what we had, then we could at least start a program of doing this on at least once every 5 years then.
Part of this process has been, as you look at what comes through the master meter from the utility, from South Sangamon versus what we actually bill at the back end of the system. And there's a number in there that never gets billed to any. So as we look to say, how do you control where the non-revenue water is and start to better identify where those things are going. And that's led to putting meters on irrigation systems out in the park to get a better understanding of what is it that we know we just use, for purpose. We have a purpose behind this use, but it's not going to get billed. And then narrow down what the true waste would be. This becomes the next step in that process to see is what's never getting to a spot where a customer can use it, where the village can use it, where it can be in a spot where we want it to be. It's just leaching off the system at some point.
And Pat, since I've been on the board, I don't think we've done this, have we?
No, we've not.
Okay, yeah.
So they actually televising the line?
No.
Just sounds.
You can hear the water running.
It's really a pretty neat process.
Well, I mean, just,
They can get pinpointed within a foot.
You may have said this already. Is this going to cause any disruption or anything to any of service or any invasiveness or anything? Okay.
No, they don't have to shut off any mains or.
What about I mean, like this company, M.E. Simpson, I mean, what is this something, I mean, obviously they are in the water industry, this water business. Would they be able to make suggestions for the types of meters that we should be implementing, or?
They never mentioned anything about meters, so.
Okay. Because I know at one time, not trying to backtrack, but I know at one time, you know, getting back to the billing issues that arose a while back, myself and Trustee Clayton had brought up the issues about the software with the Badger meters, and, you know, the one gentleman said that they comport, our software comports, you know, fine with the Badger meters, but, you know, we had talked to other professionals in the industry and said that that's not necessarily the case, and, you know, I think maybe that's something to look at.
Yes, I've talked to Ted, too. Right now, we're purchasing the exact same amount.
The Itron?
The Itron
With the Badger meter?
The only thing that we do not have yet that is going to be coming up in the next month or so is going to be the automated insights. Fix that one.
And I'm not saying that, you know, the Badger Itron or the Badger meter is bad. I'm just saying that maybe the software pairing with that, maybe there's something there, you know? I mean, it's never, you know, we've never really fully, you know, vetted into that. We test the meters and we've tested them and they come back that they're operating at a, you know, 99% capacity or whatever, but, you know, I think that's something, you know, maybe we can talk to these people about, something like that.
I'll ask them about it.
So, is it a consensus, is this something that we want to do, and do we want to accept the lowest bid, which is M.E. Simpson?
Yes.
All right, so, do you guys want to prepare an ordinance?
Yeah, have they provided a contract, or should we provide some sort of a form contract?
And Elaine, we'll have that for next Tuesday's board meeting on the agenda, okay? Thank you.
Wouldn't it be more efficient to televise those lines in to get the condition level? You can actually see where the leaks are. I mean, I understand listening for it is a great program, but if you televise it,
It's
you're
not,
gonna see.
the water mains are like sewer. Once we,
Right.
you got to completely drain the line. You would still, you still would see, you still could, probably couldn't see the crack. Or if it was leaking through the joint, around the edge of the joint.
Okay, you need to have a beer and discuss that one.
I like highlight.
Moving on, next item is the bond referendum ordinance. Joe has attached up on the screen there the ordinance that he had put together, and in that, the amount, when we had discussed this the last time, a lot of numbers were thrown out, but the number was $10 million, or a principal amount. And I know this kind of got left behind at some place, and, you know, this is something, you know, if we want to, or we should discuss, I think, whether or not we want to.
And I looked back at my notes the last time we looked at this. You're right, Ken, there was a lot of times when numbers were thrown out. It was 10, it was 20, it was 5. The other thing that was thrown out were a couple other exceptions, being if a certain percentage of the money was coming from either state or federal funding, or it was emergency for public safety, were the other two items of the exceptions. Otherwise, I think everything else there, once we agreed on an amount, those were the other two exceptions that were thrown out. Those were that was the final discussion that we've had.
Okay. Any of you guys have thoughts on a bond referendum?
And I think it's one of the things I know going way back to December, when we talked about this was one of the things that was brought up at the meeting when we were at the intermediate school.
What is the cost? I mean, do you have an idea, Joe? I don't know if other communities do. What would the cost be to the village in terms of putting a bond referendum out?
The cost really isn't anything. I mean, one of the where there is cost is municipalities have in the past put out just a general brochure of information, not saying yes, pass it, or don't pass it, if they can't do that.
Right.
But just a general brochure of this is the referendum. So that's one cost, possible cost. Otherwise, besides that, it would just go on to the next election, whatever that may be, whether it's a municipal election or a general election, then it would be placed on that ballot.
And hypothetically speaking, what is the general success?
I have no idea. I mean, it really
I
varies.
mean, you've seen more referendums than I'm sure we all
Yeah.
have, but, I mean, is it a handful pass? Is it?
I don't know of any other community that really limits
one of my
like
questions,
this,
yeah.
but at the same time, I mean, I know this is
That's-
something that the citizens are asking for.
That's what you won't find is at the community, because now there's,
Yeah, I-
Jeff, maybe this is better for you and Greg.
I was,
There's also a litany of court decisions on both sides of this, of whether a non-home rule community can do binding and non-binding resolutions.
well, and I think what you're talking about doing here is basically an advisory referendum, so at the end
That's
of the
not
day.
what this says.
No,
No, this is a binding.
this is a binding referendum.
Okay, so so
I think, and sorry, I don't mean to, I think though, when we did talk about this, that John Myers did say that I don't think we could do a binding referendum. I thought at some point he had said it had to be an advisory referendum.
That's possible, yeah.
I think I remember that conversation.
the other thing that I think you've got, just to consider when you ask about cost, there could also be some cost in time, because a lot of bonds, you know, and taking back the example of the water bond for the Water Commission, they're set up for backdoor referendum, so you go ahead and approve it, and then the citizens are able to petition, and if they get so many signatures, then it's got to go to referendum. So if you have a situation where, you know, something doesn't necessarily require a referendum, but now you want it to go to referendum, and you delay it out another, you know, so many months, there could be, you know, increased cost in terms of, you know, the interest rates or whatever type of a bond deal you're gonna get. Just as, you know, something else to consider. I don't know, I'm not a bond attorney, so I couldn't begin to try and quantify something like that. But a lot of bonds are already set up for that backdoor referendum process.
Most of those, to my understanding, are those that become alternate revenue bonds as opposed to a general obligation bond. And then there's a limit that the municipality has on its ability to issue general obligation bonds, and it's capped based on the assessed value. And what I don't know is our limit in relationship to this $10 million proposal. I've not been a fan of this since it first came up, for various reasons, but technicalities being a big portion of them.
Jeff, could you research that part of the statute that tells us, based on the assessed values, what our limitations are?
And, I mean, Mike, there are no other communities that you know of right now that have taken the plunge on this?
No, I'm not aware of any.
So the referendums that you would see would be things that, when you make a move to do a procedure that would be allowed for a home rule community. So if you were looking to, say, sales tax would be one that would be applicable here. If we're looking to levy an additional 1% sales tax, that's got to go through a referendum process because it's not a home rule community and not something that can be done here. But the bonding authority of the village is limited pretty substantially already. And the concern that brought this up was the water plant, and even this would not have stopped that ability to be bonded. It wouldn't have stopped it.
No, it wouldn't have stopped it, but I think there's a lot of
People
out there that said.
It would not have forced that issue into it, because those bonds are not the obligation of the village. Now, I think it's incumbent upon people that get elected to listen to what's going on with the constituents and the people that vote for you. And you better be more well-versed than anybody. I mean, the 6 people that get voted up here to make this decision should be the most well-versed and in some of the best positions to make those decisions. And if you put that out, we've got a track record that shows 12 to 18% turnouts in our votes. It causes me to pause drastically.
I think the intent was to save us from ourselves. So we didn't
future boards, or I guess you can always change the ordinance, but I think the message was clear that decisions were made that were probably poor decisions and put on the backs of the citizens, and that's why I think this thing was.
And they change, it will change. People will make decisions, and there will be replacement. And some will be cheered the day they make the decision, some will be cheered 20 years down the road. And that's where I look at it here, is you got elected to sit here and make a very difficult decision. And in a lot of cases, that decision is not popular today. And if you're making a decision based on what you think it is going to affect your ability to be reelected versus where you think a long-term decision is going to be made, I think you're making a decision incorrectly. And I think pushing big decisions like that back out to the vote is doing that same thing. And if you don't have the guts, but to sit up here and make that decision, you shouldn't be sitting up here.
Well, if you were referencing the water plant 20 years from now,
This was a
Pick
trust
up.
issue. I mean, yeah.
I think it's a bad example.
Pick it up, I mean, pick a decision. But there always
It's
will
not about
be.
re-election, it's about the citizens and the community and, you know. You're spending our money. You know, what, how can you even say that? I mean, what do you mean it's a re-election issue?
I've said my opinion on this numerous times. It hasn't changed. I think
Jeff,
Yeah.
you can look into that, and we'll just hold it on there for old business. Obviously, there's still discussion forthcoming.
And then I think the other thing is, if we want to at least attempt to move forward, is have Jeff look into that. But does everyone agree that if we would to move forward with this, we would want to add exception for if 80% of it or 70% is state funded, state or federal funded, and that if it's for public or safety emergencies?
I would say.
Oh, I would say, yeah.
Okay.
you're going to end up loading it with every possible way to get out of it. And if that's what you're doing, why pass it?
Well, I don't think that's trying to get out. I think that's making sure that we have safety as a concern and state dollars as a concern.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on. We'll hold that for a couple weeks. Police chief hiring process. I didn't put the I didn't put an attachment, I sent one back to you guys. I mean, basically, the one change I did was try to strike some of the specifics in terms of the requirements. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that, and did you get?
I don't think I got that.
The email back? I sent an attached email back to you guys, and I wondered, because I didn't hear back from you.
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, basically, in your thing, most of it I saw was, or that I looked at, that I thought was fine. I did try to take out some of the specifics in there. I know in terms of like the Northwestern, the Southern Illinois Police Institute, I struck those. I know one of the things that Trustee Clayton raised was on veterans type preference, and my question is, I guess my question is that something that we can implement as a veterans preference system in that hiring?
I mean, like as a point system, like with the state?
That was kind of my question on how we would incorporate that, because.
Or is that in lieu of some of the educational requirements, or?
I think definitely in lieu
training?
of some of the, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be an issue with that.
Okay.
Most of those things that get listed on that, I think a simple change from required to desired characteristics handles just about all those suggestions.
I'll reshoot you.
Okay.
So, at this point, you're one more round of review and then post.
I think even if we wanted to do it within the week to get this moving, I could shoot them that, and then if you want to shoot a sample draft or whatever, and we can even discuss it at the next meeting, and we can just give an okay. I don't even think we have to pass anything, we just, an okay that
It's good,
Okay,
it's good to
so
go.
to
we'll
do it.
shoot
To try and get this moving.
on Tuesday.
Yeah.
A week from today.
Sounds good.
Stoplight study at Plummer and Park. You know, we had discussed this before. I don't know, did you have some more information on it?
I thought what we do is wait till after we get the RFQ
Okay.
and then turn around and make that a project for.
Would that be paid for out of MFT funds? Or how would we?
I would
Pay for that.
say probably not.
No.
We need pavement repaired more than we need the signals there right now.
So we'll do the RFQ and then wait on, and then we'll be able to talk about that.
And that's out on the street, got a couple calls and questions on it and stuff like that. So they've got till the beginning of November to get them in, so.
All right, moving into new business, Sweet Corn Resolution.
The long-standing tradition of the third weekend of July. We'll be sweet corn again. Was it at the 15th and the 16th, or the 16th and the 17th?
I think it was the 15th and 16th.
It seems early to
As
wait a
soon as I
month.
say that.
Okay.
Anyway, the same resolution that's been
Okay.
there for the last 43 years
So-
will be.
So we'll have that resolution, Elaine, ready for next Tuesday's meeting to have on the agenda.
Pat, you have that resolution change dates.
Next item is the water bill dispute at 710 East Mulberry. There's an attachment there.
Jeff, this is the one.
I think, Jeff, aren't you, you're going to resolve? or
Well,
work on- or-
this-
Well, okay.
A couple of different things here. I think that this has risen to the level of the attorneys, and my first suggestion would be, maybe this would be something that discussed in a future closed session as to litigation. Second issue, unfortunately, is our office represents and has for some time the Bank of Springfield, who has taken ownership of the building and who is in dispute over the amount. So we've already been in contact with Pat and with having Alex take a look at this issue. But I think that probably your best bet now is to have a discussion on this in closed session.
Okay.
At a future closed session.
We can do that.
By the board's blessing to have Alex look at this.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Yes. So just put this on for next meeting, so.
Tuesday?
You want to do Tuesday? Does that give you,
Is that enough time that we can get an executive session next Tuesday?
I'm not sure. We better wait for the next.
you want to do committee meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what his schedule is.
Okay. Next item under new business, the possibility, Mr. Lancer has approached the village on the possibility of acquiring property that's adjacent here to the municipality. I don't know what details you have.
Just that he came in and said that it was for sale. He wanted to know if the village was interested.
And what property, just so we're,
It's the piece of property that's directly between the end of our parking lot here and the wall at Fat Willie's.
okay.
It runs from the street
Huh.
back to the alley,
Oh, where they tore down, is that?
where they tore down the building
Yeah,
plus the
okay.
grass area next to it.
And Pat and I discussed this morning, and I think, again, we would probably recommend that, we wanted to see if there was a consensus that this is something you want to discuss further, but should probably be discussed in closed session, to see if this is, something that, you want to potentially acquire for public purposes.
So you wanted,
It's definitely worth discussion.
All right, so if you guys think it's worth discussing, then perhaps set that at the next.
We'll have that do you want that at the board meeting, an executive session then? Or do you want to wait for the committee meeting after?
If you got the information, let's do it at the next meeting, if you have the information.
I have some of them.
Okay.
okay, so we'll have that for an executive session for next Tuesday. All right. RFP for risk management insurance for the village. Pat or Sherry? I don't.
Well, it was done, the risk management through the IML.
We've had an IML risk management. I know.
I think what came up last year was, we talked about bidding out these type things, and that's where the discussion led to going forward, let's at least explore a bid opportunity.
And I know when I was on the board before, I had suggested we look into that too, so I think that's a good thing that we do that.
So if the consensus of the board is, we'll put together a request for qualifications for that, then
When's our insurance, risk management insurance expire, the end of the year?
Yes, and
Okay.
into the council year or this?
Calendar.
Oh, council.
Okay, so this is, I mean, we're in October, so we're gonna have to move pretty quick on this, I would
Yes.
think, for,
Yeah, I'm assuming there's probably a stipulation in there too about giving them notice if we're, if I remember last year, I thought there was a 90-day notice, but we might want to look into that ASAP.
Well, we will let that sit around.
okay. Review submissions of utility bill printing. There's a, Sherry, you want to talk about the recommendation?
Yes, it's attached to the item up there. I don't know if, I didn't make copies, but we've got two proposals in, one from our current vendor and one from another vendor. Our current vendor actually came in lower, with a lower estimated yearly cost of approximately $9,725. The other proposal was for $14,842.
Okay.
So we'd recommend going with our current vendor. The contract that they sent along with their proposal was a 3-year contract, which was what we had entered into with them before.
That rate's for all 3 years?
Yes, yes, I think that's, the only thing that can increase is the postage amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're getting a good deal.
So Third Millennium is the company that we're gonna go with, or that we're gonna continue to maintain because they're the lowest. So Elaine, if you want to have that on the agenda for next meeting, and that is just the printing and the mailing.
Yes.
So for clarification.
Yes, they're not calculating bills, they are taking our data and putting it into it.
Would that be new business then?
Yes.
I had a local vendor that called, but they did not submit any proposals.
But you want an ordinance, right, to pass for the low bid?
Yes.
Yeah, so then
You guys do those by ordinance or resolution? Either.
whichever you prefer.
Yes.
Is this for stuffing?
This is the printing and the mailing costs for the actual bills.
I mean, it's more than just, we don't do just the postcard bursting anymore. I mean, we are doing a statement which have inserts. We'd have to have a folding, a specialized machine, and to keep up with the equipment and the man hours it would take to do that.
The billing doesn't do that, the billing company?
Pardon? Our billing office does not stuff the envelopes or print the bills, no.
We didn't want to buy that type of a printer and have it take up, we don't have enough space to put that type of a printer and folding operation and stuff. It was much cheaper to send it out than to do it in-house.
It's more cost effective, and it also probably frees up maybe at least 8+ hours of staff time.
Yeah.
And I know one of those, they're $40,000 or $50,000 machines, aren't they? The folders and stuffers, yeah, in that $40,000-$50,000 range.
We didn't want to have to worry about maintaining it, upgrading it. We buy something and it's out of date in 2 years. This way, we send them the file. We've had no problems with it.
Backup water supply. Discussion.
I've been kind of going through Coordinator Griffin. He spoke with Mayor Langfelder, and he wants to have a meeting. They're in favor of it. I'm sure he's been busy lately with all his issues, so I'm just waiting. I called Monday, waiting for the call back from him. So, like Coordinator Griffin said, that he wanted to meet with Pat and Shane and Ted Meckes, so.
And Shane reached out to Ted Meckes.
Yeah.
And then I saw Springfield's Mayor Langfelder Saturday, and he said that he was aware of it. That we would try to get together on something.
I'd imagine though this is probably gonna happen sooner rather than later, only because as of right now, we do not have an agreement with the backup water supply.
I was told that we have a verbal agreement with Otter Water District. But
which we don't want to have to rely on. If you know the issues that Otter Lake is currently having, our water is better than that.
When South Sammamish, or when we came online, or when we applied to come online, or the permit or whatever, with the EPA, were we to list, or was there some place that we were to list on there who the backup water source was, or was to
I
be?
think in some emails that were shot back and forth over the last month, I saw that we were supposed to do that.
But did we actually put it down on, do you know, did you guys find the permitting, the EPA permitting or whatever, is that something we could get that would show? I mean, we should have that, I mean, as a record, if we did an application or some kind of a permitting.
I think we'll have to check the South San
Okay.
See, that was the thing that we were wondering, Ken, are they required to supply backup water supply to us and not ourselves? If our water contract with them is that we buy all of our water from them, then if they can't supply water to us, is it their problem to come up with a solution for us?
South Sangamon?
Uh-huh.
Would that be considered a breach?
Oh,
I'd rather not publicly,
Please tell me it's a breach.
When we signed on with South Sangamon, we did not have a contract of any sort with them?
We do.
we do.
We didn't have a backup contract.
What's it say in the contract?
We didn't have a backup contract.
I know you can't, or don't want to talk about that out here, but.
Oh, come on.
It's, I don't think it's in the village's best interest for me to render an opinion up here on
Very judicious phrase.
It's legal
Thought of
speak
and designed the plan, or thought of it?
You know, I think the big concern though is why this needs to be done expeditiously is because we just talked about how low that storage tank got. In the event that we do go on a boil order and say there is an event where a fire or something.
Well, the problem that the water plant had the other day, they notified us, we shut off the valve so that we didn't have to go under a boil order. If our water levels got so low that we would be in an emergency situation, we would open up that valve and then just declare a boil order for Chatham. We would not allow us to run out of water. Now, if for some reason they were unable to produce water, then that's where we need the backup.
I mean, we're looking at 24 hours to be able to self-sustainable out of that water, out of the other water tower.
I think in the wintertime, Shane, what we got about a day in the above ground and a day and a half in the surface. Usually about this time of year. Surface tank only, a day and a half, a day.
Can I ask a stupid question? I know I'm a newcomer, but shouldn't you have all known all of this stuff already?
Sit up front, honey.
But I'm not trying to be mean or nothing.
No,
I just-
you're not.
It isn't funny either, and
No.
Mayor,
No, it's not.
this is your village, and you are leading the village, you should have known, and it would behoove you.
Well, don't roll your eyes.
Backup source in place.
I'm sick of that.
There wasn't one in there.
No, that's what we get every meeting.
Paul, I couldn't know everything in that contract. We had
You were in
engineers.
charge.
You're an
There you-
attorney.
you were-
Whose responsibility was it? Was it ours?
We didn't read it.
In talking to those guys, could we get a copy of, if there was a permit with the EPA, if we had to list, or if South Sangamon listed them as,
Yeah, we can work to get that information.
and then maybe we need to discuss in a closed session if there are some ramifications because of this, some legal ramifications. And,
I mean, I know they didn't really give up.
sometimes at least times of the essence. So maybe next meeting, at the regular meeting, maybe we need to talk about it a little bit in the executive session.
Yeah.
Get her up front on it.
When are you gonna do that?
Next regular board meeting, so next week.
I that if you did find an issue, that a government official lying to a governmental entity, that you would take action immediately? If it's noted that they lied about a backup water source, whoever lied, it's a class 4 felony. That needs to be addressed.
You probably want to have, or you guys may, if you haven't, you probably have, looked at the agreement between South Sangamon and
Yeah,
Village of Chatham.
we have all the agreements. I don't think we have the permits.
Okay.
Okay.
Hot little topic, you probably want to jump on that one.
We'll just pretend it doesn't.
All right. Video gaming ordinances. At the last regular board meeting, there was some discussion about, come on in, huh? No, I'm good. There's a discussion about the possibility of adding some classifications for our liquor licenses and gaming ordinances to restrict that. Council has put together some different draft amendments that would address, I think, some of the things that the board was talking about at that time. Jeff, do you want?
Yeah, there's two different versions in front of you, if this is the route you want to go. One would basically create a new gaming license for R1 and R2. Those are the two, right now you have an R1 and an R2 restaurant that have gaming. So this would basically create and say that if you're going to have gaming and be a restaurant, you have to have an R1 or an R2G license. However, that same ordinance says taverns can automatically have gaming licenses. Any other liquor license within the village, video gaming is not allowed. And so if you were to get a video gaming and not have the proper license, being you don't have an R1G or an R2G or a tavern, then the village could yank your liquor license and thus create problems from there. The other ordinance basically has a TG license, a tavern license, which basically would mean even for a tavern to have video gaming, they'd have to have that special license. Under either version of this ordinance, we'd automatically take those who have video gaming now and put them into the proper classification so that we're not disrupting anybody who's already got a video gaming license. And then in the future, if somebody wants a video gaming license to have gaming at one of their liquor establishments, they'd have to come and they'd have to ask for that specific R1G or R2G or TG license in order to have the video gaming associated with it.
The restriction that's getting placed, and to kind of be clear, is we can't restrict gaming licenses. But what we do have the ability is to set the number and types of liquor licenses that are issued within the village. So similar to the way that we've defined a restaurant as having X percentage of their sales from food, we're saying if this exists in the facility in the form of a gaming machine, you can't have a liquor license unless you're under this qualification. So it's restricted to liquor sales, in which circumstances they can be sold.
And so there are basically two questions. The first one is, do you want to do this at all? And the second one is, do you want to, have taverns have the special license or just automatically allow taverns to have video games?
So is that the only difference there is, in the first option, you have your R1G, R2G, and then a T, which would automatically get gaming, and the second one would basically be a TG where we...
Yes.
So in the second option, would there be a tavern and a TG?
Yes.
Okay.
Pat, what is the current amount that you have that for an R1 license?
Wish you guys would give me these questions before the meeting.
I've got the number of lessons or the fee?
The fee.
I've got I think I have the ordinance.
Thought it was.
Yeah, that's the other question, I think, is do you want to have separate, different fees for these G licenses, or we haven't really, delved into that from a policy perspective with the board yet.
Wouldn't that be on an annual basis?
Yeah, you have it right now saying $1,000 per license for gaming. I think that's in both.
Let's see. So right now, a R1 is $600, an R2 is $800, and a T is $1,000.
Yeah, question for Joe. I think you and I talked one time about the gambling and stuff, using Springfield as an example,
Yeah.
where you want to, I guess you would say, protect the local businesses, you know, that have the gaming from the outsiders coming in, and putting just a bank of slot machines and serving drink. I take it this is what that is about?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And I would be, I think when we have a gaming license though, there's a couple reasons why we have gaming, and I don't want to go into that, but I think a gaming license should be higher than a regular license for whether it's a tavern or whether it's a restaurant, simply because it gives that person an additional area to make additional revenue. And I think that's, so if you're going to have a gaming license, I think we do have to talk about what the price is, and I would like to see that price being higher than what the price is if you go for a license without gaming.
You also potentially have higher enforcement, potential costs associated with it.
Yeah, we're not, knowing your licenses, we can't regulate the gaming. What we can regulate is the liquor license.
The licenses, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You can say that.
So I think this is the way we can do it as a non-home rule community.
I said I'm gonna do the vote killer because I personally, and I know some of you guys had talked about this the last time before we made the last vote, I'm comfortable with the classifications, the way that they're set up, and being able to be elected to make those tough decisions when business owners come up in front of us and ask for a liquor license, knowing whether or not there is the potential that they could add video gaming, because I'm not for restricting the competition amongst the local businesses and amongst people trying to come into our village and to compete with those other businesses. I think, that's fair game and fair equality, and I think everybody should be placed on the same playing field.
I completely
The
agree.
concern came up in addressing the fact that you pitched an idea, and a proposal comes up and says, here's what I would like to do in this area. And food, fine, liquor was fine, but to an extent, we didn't want to extend the gaming either. Which why to me, the tavern classification under our zoning doesn't make a lot of sense, because tavern licenses are restricted already to our industrial areas, which are non-residential anyway, so.
I understand that, but as discussed, and we had talked about this, when someone sets out a business plan, they may have an idea what the business plan is, and over time, the way the economy is, the way things have evolved, that business plan has to evolve and change in order for them to survive. I think a lot of our local businesses that have these would come in, and some of them did come in and say when they went to it, like AJ's and places like that, they would not survive if it was not for the gaming. And, I think the Creek, I think they would, probably raise the same thing, that they generate a large portion of revenue because of that gaming to survive and to keep their business moving.
And I think that this is not saying that we don't want the Creek or AJ's to have gaming. I think this is more along the lines of a way for a non-home rule community to be sure that those establishments that we would like to see gaming in have gaming. Those establishments that we would not like to see gaming in, prohibit gaming in those areas. And each establishment has to come in yearly to get a new license. So at that time, if a business model changes and they don't have gaming, but they want to go to gaming, this gives them the option of having going from an R1 license to an R1G license. So I think this does still give the businessmen flexibility.
But to me, this is just another, like you're saying, another restriction, government putting another clampdown. There's already the restriction in place of they have to go to the gaming board to get approved for that gaming license and to be able to pass that hurdle. This is just us basically saying, here's another hurdle to call or to jump over in order to get that. And, the state has already established a regulatory agency or a regulatory body of government to, review all this stuff.
I would say, like I went back to before, if the intent of this is to keep R1 and R2s out of the community by saying, we're not going to give you gaming, although that's now part of their business model, I don't like the intent of it. But if the intent is to say, hey, we want to be clear when we issue these gaming licenses, to let people know these people are applying for gaming license, I can understand that. But I'm just a little concerned that we might have a restaurant or some kind of dining out place come into town and they want to invest money in this community, they want to set up shop in this community, and they're going to see this as protectionism. That's my concern about it. And I think we've done a really good job of when those other entities came in, the parlors, if you will.
Lucy's Place?
Came in and said, no, we want to do this restaurant. I think we did a good job of sniffing that out and denying those people. But like I said, that's my only concerns with the intent of this. I mean, how many times does everybody tell you, we need another restaurant, we need another restaurant? And if we're gonna put this stipulation out there, is it gonna deter people from going, well, gaming's part of my business model now? In order to be competitive, I have to do this.
I don't know that it deters anybody from it, I just think it makes it part of the proposal when they come in and say, here's the totality of what I'm proposing to put into one of your neighborhoods in town. You know, if I'm gonna say, you know, one of the vacant corners near Breckenridge right now. You look at a business differently that comes in and says, I would like to do, you know, food and beverage here, with some alcohol served with dinner, versus I would like to be alcohol heavy with gaming machines here. You're gonna look at those two businesses differently. Currently, what we have is a situation where the guy can come in and pitch food and a glass of wine with your dinner, and then 30 days later, change that to say it's alcohol intensive with gambling machines in it, which is not what he proposed, and that's what this is. So I think it's the
I do
second
like
point
that.
of what you were saying when you laid out your comments is, it's not a protectionism, it's just when somebody comes in here and makes a proposal, this is legitimately what my business model is going to be.
Well, and,
here's what I'm proposing.
and I guess my concern is I don't want the board to use it as, okay, we don't want any more gaming, this is our way of limiting gaming without considering what else these people are bringing to the community through our
I think it gives us another option, I think is what it does.
I look at it like a zoning, it's a zoning classification. The same thing that you put certain business types into certain zones and you limit it to certain areas. And that prevents an industrial dry cleaning operation popping up next to Matt's house. It's those types of considerations. And you just put everything in the proper box and you say, here's what box I'm gonna operate in.
As Joe said, though, I mean, these are renewable each year, they come in, so that provision to revoke that license is already in place. If someone would to do that, to put in a drinking heavy establishment with gaming, at the end of the year, if we decided as a board
can
that
you
we,
revoke a liquor license?
they're 1 year revocable, I mean.
Exactly.
I'm just.
Are they? Well,
How would that work?
if they didn't, what you guys do is you create licenses, and then as long as they comply with the standards, you know, and they meet the, you know, the renewal requirements, then I think the mayor as the liquor commissioner would, you know, have to find some reason to not renew it.
So the board couldn't vote to lower the number of liquor licenses without the mayor's approval?
No, I think you could lower the number of liquor
So then you
licenses.
cut the liquor license?
Yeah.
So then you revoke it?
That would be the way to, kind of the back way around and do
Yeah.
that.
So it is possible to do it?
When you would, if you were to make a cut like
But you'd have to be pretty well advanced and, you know.
Well, and I'm looking for this
to do
option
it.
as something completely different, and that's just more of, if there is that option of, there are businesses that will come in and they want to be close to a neighborhood that is more active and more, you know, they want to have a couple drinks, a coffee shop, et cetera, that's around there, you know, a wine, coffee place, but then you have it butted up right next to a neighborhood they want that business, but they also don't want the gaming. I think this is a nice balance, is to say, all right, well, you're committing to this, we're ensuring the residents as well that you'll sign up for this. So we're kind of making a happy medium in between.
No, I'm not totally opposed to this, but
I don't look at it as a limiting, is all.
Yeah, that's what
Not at all.
I'm afraid of, is that we're gonna use this as an excuse to say no automatically.
No, I think this is the exception.
If the concern though is, about businesses abutting up to neighborhoods, then instead of looking at liquor licenses, maybe we need to be looking at the actual zoning of those areas that are abutting up to the neighborhoods and whether or not we want those to be a commercial area or an industrial area.
Some do, they're not against it,
Well,
they just want that
as
safety.
Trustee Kempsey said, right in front of Breckenridge, that's a commercial area. I mean, nothing would behoove someone to go in and start putting apartment complexes up in that area.
But what we're saying about, this is completely different, but what we're saying about this ordinance is saying at that point, that if somebody wants to come in and open the coffee wine shop up there, a lot of residents would be okay with that. But as soon as gaming comes in, they're going to back up a little bit. So this gives them that business still to be successful and have that option to make the community happy at the same time, instead of just saying, no, we're not gonna do it. And I don't wanna, if somebody comes in on Route 4 and they say, hey, I wanna have a, restaurant, okay, that's completely different. It's not, you know what I mean, they're ready, we know. That's a different business. I think it's that neighborhood backing up, and it's a nice option, I think. I would be for it.
To your concern, Mark, I think what it is it presents a different option, one more option that a business can pursue.
Right now, municipalities throughout the state, I can tell you, are grappling with this issue of how to control it. There's a municipality up north that just, using the term, they went all in on video gaming. And now they're trying to look at it and say, okay, how can we pull back? What can we do to limit video gaming? And they're having some concerns, they're having some trouble doing that. And I think before we get into a point where we're looking at this saying, we want to pull back a little, I think we're at a pretty happy medium right now, and this just gives us additional safeguards.
My thought would be the R1 and 2G, leave the taverns as they are. And personally, I believe the fee should be the same on R1.
So you'd say leave the amounts the same,
I agree, I mean, especially if you're looking at competition-wise of Springfield versus us, cost-wise.
I mean, what's the consensus? Is that the one, the R1, R2 does that want to go to the board, or is there a consensus to push this or have the amendment or the ordinance go to the next board meeting for passage?
Well, I think we need to settle on which options we want here.
Yeah.
That's where I see
Option 1,
I threw out there that the R1 and R2G classifications.
At the same fees.
At the same fees as current R1 and R2 classifications.
What's your thought, Mark?
I still need to kick this around. I'm a little concerned that when these businesses come to town and the heat gets turned up, whether or not there's gonna be a gaming machine, whether or not this is gonna be utilized as being, hey, here's our out to say no. That's what concerns me, especially when we talk about people wanting to invest in Chatham.
Well, we could say no to them anyway.
That was the concern that was brought up, as we discussed the last liquor license additions, was, the presence or absence of gaming there. And the concern that was expressed is, once the license is issued, your ability to prevent the gaming from going in is gone at that point in time.
So Dave is R1. You know my thoughts on it. I'm not for either one of them, so.
Yeah, I would say that I would actually be for the one that has R1G, R2G, and TG, just to give additional flexibility. When I hear the stories where the community has a flower shop and the people came in saying, we want to have a liquor license so we can serve wine while people are looking at flowers for their wedding and stuff like that, and the board says, oh, that sounds great, and they give them the liquor license, and next thing you know, they have a big sign outside that says slots here. We just don't want that.
Well, what are the guys gonna do while the women are looking at flowers?
Yeah. Very good, man.
Very good.
Very good.
I think you get Kenny an idea for a business.
Plenty of business ideas.
For that reason, and knowing, seeing what's happened around the state, I would definitely be for something that gives us additional flexibility.
As am I.
Matt?
I have some of the same concerns that Mark does with the potential limitation that these new classifications do. And I think it's something that I'll have to kick around as well, because I'm not one that likes to tell one business yes and one business no, and restricting that in that way. I believe the markets help determine what businesses work and what don't. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
I just want to piggyback on that I definitely don't want to tell a business what to do, but I also don't want to limit business and just have a flat-out no answer to them when they move to the neighborhood.
Pretty divided, let's leave this for 2 weeks.
We're at a 3-3 tie, since the mayor doesn't get to participate in the committee meeting. As the committee chair.
Let's leave it.
As the committee chair, I think that we'll hold off on this for now, since it's a 3-3 tie.
Well, I do want to continue to explore this, but like I said, I noted my concerns, but narrowing it down to one or two options, I think would help as well. I think, Joe, you got preference on one, or Dave has one on another, so, yeah, I think discussing this in the next committee meeting would probably.
Okay. Move it to old business. Let everybody kick it around. Large dumpster ordinance. Ryan, and you want to talk about this?
Yeah,
There's not a proposed ordinance.
no, that's what we discussed tonight. Me and Pat had recently we've had a lot of complaints about dumpsters being placed in the street. And we're talking about the large construction dumpsters that you see like from Illini Disposal and whatnot. I kind of threw this idea out when me and Pat were kind of talking about this in the beginning and talked to Greg about it a little bit too. I don't know exactly how you would ever word an ordinance like this, because what you want to do is you want to try to be fair but firm, you know what I mean? So the one thing about it was, if you were going to have a dumpster, we didn't want it on the street. It would have to be in your driveway or on your lot. But then we run into difficulties where we have like a business, like let's say Fat Willie's, for example. So they want to re-roof the place, or they want to do some maintenance to it, or where are they going to put a dumpster? And or remodel. They could kind of put it in the back, but then it's in the alley, and so it's kind of tough just to make it, you can't have them in the street, because then that kind of limits some places that you may not have a place to use it.
Ryan, have you considered looking at this as a parking ordinance?
Yeah, I've also kind of tossed around the idea personally of just maybe, I don't want to do a permitting process because I want to keep them off the street. Springfield does a permitting process, I don't want to get into that.
How many times has this become an issue?
Recently, a lot. And the reason for that is mostly because of new construction. We had 3 or 4 complaints right in a row on Prairie Vista because of new construction. So
we had one an accident on Plummer, where a lady drove into the back of one because the sun was in her eyes and she didn't see the thing that it was parked right there on the street. She just ran right into it.
I bet maybe some sunglasses.
Well, that's kind of the parking study at Plummer and Park.
No, this was at Plummer.
Kind of sympathize with the lady running into a dumpster.
We thought instead of putting the onus on the developer, we would put it on the dumpster company, that they are not allowed to park their dumpsters on our streets. That way the police can cite them with a ticket. And if we send a letter to all the dumpster companies and let them know that in Chatham you're not allowed to drop the dumpster on the street, then we've solved that problem, and we don't have to give permits or...
That's where the thought for parking.
What about to me, I guess, I wouldn't see this as big of a problem, you know, from my perspective, if there was, you know, on the street, maybe a limit to the certain number of days that they can be on the street. Because, let's just say as a homeowner, I'm having major work done, I don't know necessarily that I would want a giant dumpster coming and being dropped on my concrete and busting up my driveway and things of that nature. And if a project can be completed within, you know, 5 days or 3 days, whatever, and then it's out of there, does it still present an issue?
But it also, to that same regard, it gets dumped down onto our street and bust up the street in the same fashion as the driver.
If the dumpster's in the street, can anyone come by and put stuff in the dumpster being it's public property then?
They do anyway.
As sad as that is, I'm
Even
sure
if it's
it's
on
true.
business, yeah.
I was just looking for something that we didn't have to regulate.
Well, one other option may be to do like what you said and have a blanket restriction, but allow, and not kind of permit it, but if somebody needs an exception, to be allowed to issue a permit for an exception. And then maybe as part of that process, also they have to put out little cones or some sort of, you know,
That's not a good idea.
warning or something.
And I did have that come up last fall, and the person was actually using a pod to move, and they wanted to park it on Independence, and we have what's like a, I don't even know how to explain it, it's got a turn lane in the middle. Well, you can't put a pod on the side of the road because that's right in the lane. It couldn't go into their driveway because the driveway was really steep, so there was no way to, so it was just, and in fact, Chief Holmes denied her. I had her talk to him, and he just denied it because it was just a traffic safety issue. So,
I like the idea. I'm the same as Kenny. I really wouldn't want to put a big dumpster in my drive.
what about on construction sites for, you know, new construction, which we have a lot of? I've been telling the guys, make sure they're on your property.
Well, new construction, they should.
Yeah, 'cause
They're doing most of that before they put the driveway.
Well, and they're on the street for, you know, 3 months instead of just.
Yeah, I agree with Ken. I think, you know, if we limit it to a certain number of days.
Most people have a dumpster for 7 days, because after 7 days, you're charged extra for it.
Right,
anyway.
right.
So most people make a point of getting rid of it in 7 days, so you put a 7-day limit on it, and go from there. Because there's always gonna be an exception to the rule. Some people, there's just no way they can put it on their property. That's
Right,
just the
right.
way it is on
Right.
some.
I can see both sides, because I can see you wanting to, you know, say, you know, well, let's allow it, but at the same time, if it is a traffic safety or a public safety concern, then I'd say that would be cause of not allowing it at that location.
No, I called Illini Disposal, and I told the lady I was talking to, I said, you know, don't put them on the street anymore. But she goes, do you guys, she was asking me, do you guys have a permit process, do you have an ordinance? I said, no, we don't, but I said they are a safety hazard. And the reason those became a safety hazard on Prairie Vista was because 3 brand new houses were being built, there was 3 dumpsters right in a row, people were trying to turn out of the apartment complex, and it was just a big mess, so.
And in those cases, those dumpsters could have been put on the lot.
Exactly.
So,
Well, any dumpster on any roadway in the village of Chatham is going to be a problem, regardless. I mean, I don't know of any place in the village of Chatham that would not be a traffic safety issue.
So, I mean, could I work with Greg and?
Yeah, why don't you work with them and try and craft some language.
Okay.
And see what's going on, see where we can head with it. We can talk about it when I'm
Okay.
so. Thank you, Ryan.
Are we going to keep that on the agenda or anything like that?
Yeah, I'll keep that on a committee agenda for old business.
For next,
Yeah, it doesn't need to go on the regular board
Okay.
meeting agenda.
all right.
Box plows. In the packet here, I believe there's some more proposals.
For the box plows, we're gonna be renting box plows, this year, but, they come with a proposal, we're basically gonna be paying the same amount of money for 4 months that we'll be renting them, but they're offering us the option to buy it at the end of it for, $345 each. At the end of the year. Was the low. It's $750 a month per 10-foot box plow.
You want to explain what box plows are for everyone?
They're a 10-foot plow that go on front of the backhoes, allows them to go to the cul-de-sacs and small roads without having large dump trucks down through there. Allows us to easily remove the snow from those areas. We've been renting for the past couple of years. It worked out fantastic. With us renting them and with the budget and stuff that came up with the offer of just letting us buy it outright at the end of the rental. And MFT does allow us to do,
And do we have the
What's
funds
the
in
offer?
MFT?
What's the offer just to buy them up front rather than rent for 4 months and then buy them? I mean, we're all,
$7,390. They just spread it over. We can buy them outright anytime, but it just spreads it over the time.
$750 a month to rent for 4 months, right?
Yep.
3,000. My math's right. 3,000 in rental,
Yes.
and then an additional,
$345. You're on, that's Martin's. Martin is a low bid on that. Caterpillar was 4,000 a piece. Caterpillar was a total of $4,700 each.
Is there a difference in the quality?
No, just manufactured.
Well, Martin's is John Deere, right, as compared to Caterpillar?
Yeah.
How long did these last, Shane?
They should, as long as, they should last forever. There's no mechanical parts to them. It's just, you drive it, you drive the front and back over into it, chain it down.
that's the kiss of death when you said that you
Well, it's gonna last, those box plows will last a lot longer than what any of us will be alive, so. I can almost guarantee you that unless somebody breaks them.
No, I guess
It's basically a solid piece of steel with bolts to it.
the question I was asking, Shane, is the 4-month rent plus the purchase the same as just purchasing outright up front? Well,
That was just what they offered us. Instead, they would break it, so it would spread it out, spread the cost out, they offered to spread the cost out for 4 months as a rental.
I thought we had cash flow problems.
Right. What I'm curious is, what's the upfront purchase price?
Same price.
So you paid $6,700 today and have them?
And on more.
And
Or spread the payments.
So if we're getting 4 months of 0% financing, I'm fine with that.
yeah, because then if it breaks, we can get it back to them.
Yeah. That's what I want to be sure of. What's the pay today price versus the pay in 5 months price?
It's the same price.
One new one.
If that's it, then yes, okay.
Okay, so is everyone fine with Martin? Bid? Elaine will have an ordinance, are we doing that by ordinance soon?
It's underneath the funding side, but I want to make sure.
And what fund does this come out of?
MFT?
This come out of the MFT fund?
For the next meeting?
Okay, the board meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
And you say we have that right now?
You know what we have in MFT right now, as we speak?
Pat, do you know?
All right, man.
Sherry's looking at.
They haven't changed any since the last time we talked.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was last
I
time.
thought it was 100 something though. Yeah.
We haven't gotten any money yet.
No, we're gonna be 3 months behind now.
We have to pay for our oil and chip work that we've done,
What's
but
that, 80?
we should still have plenty of money left over. to Be able to purchase this.
Yeah, the bunch.
We never have plenty
We have
of
to
money.
regulate,
Okay.
so there you go.
Beck annexation?
Beck annexation, it's a piece of property directly south of Bucks Drive on the northwest, or the southeast corner of County Road and Route 4. It's where the new goldenrod's gonna come through. Gentleman owns that property, wants to annex it to the village. He's asked for a certain type of zoning there, I think it's I. And the other thing that he'd asked for was that we run a water line to the property. And most of the stuff that's in there is standard, but I didn't know what the board's feelings were on running utilities to the property.
How big is the parcel? Is that map? How big is the parcel?
About 7.5 acres. He was looking at dividing it into 2 pieces.
And the run for us would be how long?
Essentially, when they do the goldenrod project, they're gonna move that 10-inch line that's on the northwest corner of the intersection of Route 4 and County Road to the south side, and then run that 10-inch all the way down and connect into our 10 that runs all the way to Loami and then runs around and comes back up and feeds in Berlin. The idea is that would be under the pavement, the new pavement, if we left it where it was at. So this way, they're gonna move it over, move the valves over there, and put a nice T in there for us. That's where we're gonna pay for the tubes, get the tubes under Route 4 and underneath the railroad tracks. So essentially, if we paid for it, we would have to pay for getting it from the west side of Route 4, probably 25 feet to 50 feet onto the property on the east side of Route 4.
Is this property that we would have to, we will have to purchase for the goldenrod?
No.
None of it
The
is?
state is going to purchase what right-of-way they need along.
So the state could possibly need to purchase some of this property?
We're not buying it, man.
We're not buying the property.
I said the state.
The state is purchasing part of his property. He will have a remainder, and that remainder he wants to develop. And that remainder is, I think there was a map included on that packet that I gave him.
I think we're missing a packet.
Well, it didn't get posted. I thought I'd sent that email. That's it, yeah. But, and the one above it shows where the rail line's gonna go through, or where the new road's gonna go through.
Okay, so
Yeah.
where?
So his property is from here, essentially, this piece down. The water line would have to get extended from there to there.
Okay, so this is so it's south of the lot that has the storage lot, is that right?
It's north of where the storage units are at.
It's north of the storage units, and what's on the, so what's this? Are these
That's
houses?
Bucks Drive.
That's Bucks Drive?
Yeah.
And these are houses, right?
Yeah, that's Bucks Drive houses.
Yeah.
So we would have industrial next to residential?
That's what he's asking.
You still have a buffer here, don't you?
It still has to go through the planning commission and all
Not
that.
much, here.
Can we get an idea what the cost would be to run the utilities?
Sure.
Just a general ballpark figure. Okay. You want to move this over to next committee? Let's go to next committee, old
Yeah, 'cause
business.
it's really not much of that's gonna happen until after the railroad crossing is put in there.
Okay. Public utility, public works update, this got on here. Shay, I know we've gone through a lot of this. Is there anything we missed that you need
The
discussed?
only was we went out for bid for the hot box, the hot patcher. Those came in. The Galvin Road came in at $28,026. Hampton Cliff came in at $29,644. Galvin Road offered $12,000 trade-in for the patcher that we're using now. Hampton offered only $5,000. The total for Galvin Road came in at $16,626. We had a budget amount for $17,000. So it came in under budget.
How often do we use this piece of machinery we have now?
We don't anymore. Mostly.
Okay, how often did we use it before?
It was just the oil, it was basically for patching oil and chip, and they thought they were gonna be able to use it for patching paved roads, but from my understanding of the past practices, when they tried to do that, when they were out there, they pretty much got lynched.
I mean, are they not, and I don't mean to say that they're not, are they not properly trained in how to do this? Because, I mean, I've been on the end of a shovel and scooped hot patch and full patch. So I know how to do this. And I know I wasn't paid $28,000 to do it.
The issue of it was having oil and chip on the paved road.
And there's no other way to pave an oil and chip road. Or to fix an oil and chip road.
Fix a paved road?
Yeah.
Cold patch or hot patch. Hot patch lasts a lot longer, just for the emulsification. Cold patch is basically just a temporary fix until we get resurfaced.
Matt, I think what Shane was trying to say was is it the one where you used to spray and they put the rock on it, so it would spray out oil and then you would feather the rock over it, you know? So if you went out to a paved road and did that, well, then you just ended up with a mess.
Yeah.
And they were pretty much almost assassinated out there while they were doing it, so.
Because like I said, I've done the hot patch and.
Man, I can control you.
And roads and, you know.
Got some projects for you.
Side job.
This just allows them to keep it for multiple days before it goes down and they can't use it. Allows them to buy a lot, allows them to buy a lot at one time. And they can actually stay and maintain it, so they have to get multiple trips back and forth to Springfield.
Okay. And how long do we expect this piece of machinery? What are we looking at shelf life for this hot patch machine?
Not as long as a box block.
Not as long as the box block.
Half-life.
Half-life.
Is it warranted?
Yes.
How many years?
I'd have to go back and read it. This was requested by the Barry back in the budget process.
Thoughts?
This was budgeted for them?
Yes.
That was it.
And in your pack, there is a picture of what it is on the handout.
We need to put it for a vote, for an ordinance for the vote next regular board meeting then for a hot box Galva Road bid.
Just a question, I mean, with all this extra equipment we're talking about, do we have extra storage out there for all that stuff there? That's
And
right next,
everything across the street's been moved down on South Main.
like how long? Because it's just such a poor site, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'd like to follow on that. That building seems to be been done for quite some time.
Well, with the outside work, with the concrete and everything else like that, and rock work, the guys have just been piecing it together whenever they've had time.
Our guys?
Yeah.
That wasn't included in the construction bid?
The concrete patio in front was not, no.
I mean, it's a little bit concerning to me when I go down there and that building seems to have been done for almost a year now. And we're paying for it, but yet we're not utilizing it. What left is there to do out there?
There's a little bit of electric in there, the hot water system still has to be put in.
Who's doing electric?
Floor heat, B&B.
And what are we looking at as far as a move-in date, if you will?
I was hoping by November.
I mean, my hope and my concern about getting new equipment right now is having it sit outside. Because if that new building's not ready, and we're buying this brand-new piece of equipment, and it's gonna sit outside in the rain, snow, and crap weather, I mean, what?
Look, it's still sitting inside. We've got this brand new dump truck sitting inside there. We've got skid steers inside there now.
When's electric done out there? It was supposed to be
I
done?
think the only thing I had left of was the lighting. Lighting and then the heat. That was the only left of it.
When are they coming back out?
I'll call.
Call them, yeah, let's find out and get, just because I know that's a huge thing that people do complain about is that they go by and see that. I think we can.
I know there's a lot of issues and complaints that this building is always day in, day out, open, unlocked, doors open. You know, I know some of the doors may not close, but, you know, to have, you know, government village property looking like that is not,
Then once
Not
you
good.
move everything, there'll be nothing in there, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
and the plan is to raise that, right? To raise that building,
Pardon me?
is to raise that building over here? That's the plan,
To remove it, yes.
to raise it, yeah.
Thanks.
Got anything else?
The only other thing I had was the, let's see, it was a refrigerator recycling. Back there, should be, you guys have a copy of the flyer. In there, the IMA has a refrigerator recycling program. It's basically a $50 rebate for your old refrigerator. Call the 877 number. They make arrangements with you, pick it up. And then send you a card, send you a $50 card in that.
For old fridges, huh?
That's nice.
Get rid of it.
Wonder if we could put that out. That'd be nice. For like-
Well, there's a press release in there. I just want to get your guys' permission to go ahead and do that.
I like it.
Yes.
Do it.
I like it.
Anything else? That's all I have. Thanks, Shane. Sherry, you have anything?
Thanks, Shane.
Pat? All right, I'll make a motion to go into executive session for
I'll second that.
employment matters and say the price
I'll second
for
that.
sale / lease of property owned by.
I want a second.
All right, you can second, Joe second.
And no action will be taken after closed session, I'll just adjourn.
So is the meeting, this one's adjourned then?
No, just into closed session.
Just for the first session? We're adjourning for the first session?
We're not adjourning this meeting, we're going into closed session.